Top 4 Rare U.S. Pennies Worth Big Money. Welcome to Numismatic Vault Extra. Today, we're exploring some of the most valuable top 4 U.S. penny coins, including wheat pennies, Indian head cents, and rare Kennedy-era 1-cent coins from the United States of America, United States. In this video, we'll break down their current market values, highlight fascinating era coins, and explain the specific conditions that make certain pennies incredibly rare. This includes copper composition, unique color shades, and other standout features that have made these coins major players in the coin collector and investor world. These rare treasures are not just pieces of history. They are also some of the most valuable coins collectors are actively searching for today. So, if you're a coin enthusiast, an investor, or someone who appreciates the beauty and significance of American currency, backhand index pointing right, this video is for you. Let's get started with the first coin. Magnifying glass tilted left money bag. The story of the 1878 Indian head cent begins in a quieter America, one still shaping its identity after hardship and transformation. This was a nation recovering from war, learning how to breathe again, and redefining what strength looked like. In that moment, a small copper coin was born, not with celebration, but with purpose. It carried no mint mark, no obvious signal of importance, yet it held the weight of a country still discovering itself. The Indian head cent was never meant to be ordinary. From the moment it entered circulation, it looked different from anything that had come before. The design spoke softly but firmly, blending classical beauty with symbolic strength. Though often misunderstood, the image represented liberty itself, calm, resolute, and enduring. In 1878, that message mattered deeply, even if few stopped to reflect on it. Copper, humble and practical, formed the body of this coin. It was not precious metal, yet it was essential, just like the people who used it. Millions of hands touched these cents, spending them on bread, tools, newspapers, and small daily necessities. Each coin absorbed the energy of its time, passing through an America built on effort rather than excess. The year 1878 sat at a crossroads. The nation was expanding westward, industries were rising, and cities were beginning to hum with new ambition. Money moved fast, and coins like this one rarely rested. They were used, worn, and forgotten. That constant motion is what makes survival so powerful today. Most 1878 Indian head cents lived hard lives. Copper is unforgiving. It shows every scrape, every drop, every careless moment. Time darkened surfaces, softened details, and erased sharpness without mercy. That is why truly well-preserved examples feel almost unreal now, as if they slipped through history untouched. What transforms this coin from old to extraordinary is not age alone, but endurance. A coin that remains strong after more than a century carries a kind of authority. It has outlasted generations, economies, and entire ways of life. That survival turns curiosity into reverence. There is also mystery wrapped around the Indian head cent. It belongs to an era before modern record-keeping, before instant documentation. Each surviving coin feels personal, as if it carries secrets no one wrote down. That sense of unknown history fuels imagination and desire. Collectors often speak of moments when they first hold an exceptional Indian head cent. The experience is quiet, almost reverent. The coin feels warm despite the metal, as though it remembers the world that created it. That emotional connection cannot be manufactured. It grows only with time. The belief that a single coin could change a life may sound dramatic, yet history is full of moments when overlooked objects suddenly mattered deeply. Value is not fixed. It evolves. What was once common can become rare simply because time erased most of it. The 1878 cent also represents patience. It waited silently through decades when no one cared, when attention shifted elsewhere. Only later did people begin to understand what had been lost and what remained. Coins that survive neglect often become the most powerful storytellers. Every detail on this coin, the worn feathers, the softened letters, the aging copper tone, reflects the passage of time. Nothing about it is rushed. It invites the holder to slow down, to look closer, and to respect the journey it has traveled. Many people unknowingly spend or discard old coins without realizing what they hold. That is how history slips away. The difference between loss and preservation is often a single moment of awareness. Once gone, these pieces can never be replaced. The idea that this coin could transform a fortune overnight is not rooted in fantasy alone. It is rooted in rarity, condition, and understanding. When knowledge meets opportunity, value can shift suddenly and without warning. The Indian head cent stands as a reminder that greatness does not always announce itself. Sometimes it hides quietly in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. That waiting gives it power. In the end, the 1878 Indian head cent is more than copper. It is memory, endurance, and possibility pressed into metal. For those who truly understand it, this coin is not just money. It is a silent witness to history, carrying the power to change perspective, and sometimes everything else. Next up, the story of the 1894 Indian head cent begins in an America that was no longer young, yet not fully confident in what it had become. The nation had survived wars, economic shocks, and cultural shifts, but uncertainty still lingered beneath the surface. In that atmosphere, a simple copper cent entered circulation quietly, without ceremony, carrying no mint mark and no promise of fame. Yet history has a way of hiding power in the most unassuming places. By 1894, the Indian head cent was already familiar to the public, but familiarity often breeds neglect. These coins were everywhere, passed across counters, dropped into pockets, and forgotten at the bottom of drawers. No one paused to admire them, and no one imagined that one day they would be studied, protected, and fiercely desired. That indifference is exactly what makes their survival so remarkable. The copper used to strike these cents was honest and unforgiving. It showed every mark, every scrape, every moment of careless handling. Unlike gold or silver, copper ages visibly, recording time rather than resisting it. Each 1894 cent absorbed the environment of its era, darkening, softening, and changing as the decades passed. This was a period of quiet struggle in American life. Economic instability touched many households, and small coins mattered more than we might imagine today. The Indian head cent was a working coin, meant to circulate endlessly, not to rest in collections. That constant movement ensured that very few would ever remain untouched. What gives the 1894 Indian head cent its mystique today is not loud rarity, but survival against expectation. Most were worn down until their details faded into memory. Those that escaped heavy circulation did so by chance alone, tucked away, forgotten, or preserved unintentionally. Chance, in the world of coins, is often the most powerful force of all. There is something deeply human about this coin. It witnessed everyday life rather than grand events. It paid for bread, ink, thread, and small moments that history books never record. Holding one now feels like holding a fragment of ordinary lives that shaped a nation from the ground up. Collectors often describe a quiet thrill when encountering a strong example of an 1894 cent. The experience is not flashy or overwhelming. It is reflective. The coin seems to speak softly, reminding the holder that time, not attention, is what creates meaning. That quiet presence gives it emotional weight. The design itself carries symbolism that grows stronger with age. The calm, steady face on the coin does not demand admiration. It invites contemplation. Over time, that restraint has become its greatest strength. Coins that shout often fade from memory, but coins that whisper tend to endure. As decades passed, countless Indian head cents disappeared, lost, melted, discarded, or simply worn beyond recognition. What remains today represents only a fraction of what once existed. This natural thinning of history transforms ordinary survivors into objects of fascination. The belief that a single coin could change a fortune overnight is not built on fantasy alone. It is built on timing, condition, and understanding. When rarity meets demand, value can rise suddenly, catching the unprepared by surprise. History has proven this pattern again and again. The 1894 cent waited patiently while attention shifted to newer designs and modern money. It remained in the background, slowly gaining strength through absence rather than presence. That patience mirrors the lives of those who once relied on it. Quiet, persistent, and resilient. Every mark on an old Indian head cent tells a story, but the lack of marks tells an even greater one. A well-preserved example feels almost defiant, as if it resisted a century of use and neglect. That resistance turns curiosity into reverence. Many people still overlook these coins today, dismissing them as old copper with little thought. That moment of dismissal is where opportunity often slips away. History rarely announces itself clearly. It tests awareness instead. The power of the 1894 Indian head cent lies in its contradiction. It is small, simple, and made of common metal, Yet it commands respect because time has chosen it to remain. Survival becomes significance when enough years pass. In the end, this coin is more than a cent. It is a witness to endurance, a symbol of overlooked value, and a reminder that fortune does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it sits quietly in the palm of your hand, waiting for recognition, and when that moment comes, everything can change. Next up, the 1944 wheat penny was born during a moment when the world itself felt fragile. America was deep in the shadow of war, and every material, every resource, and every small object carried weight far beyond its size. When this 1-cent coin entered circulation without a mint mark, no one could have imagined that it would one day be whispered about with awe, suspicion, and hope. It looked ordinary, but history often hides its greatest power inside the most familiar shapes. This penny was struck at a time when copper mattered more than money itself. The metal carried significance, strength, and purpose, reflecting an era when nothing was wasted and everything had a role to play. Each 1944 wheat cent carried the quiet tension of its time, traveling through hands that were saving, struggling, praying, and rebuilding. It absorbed those moments silently, becoming more than a coin, it became a witness. Unlike flashy or ceremonial coins, this penny lived a hard life. It moved endlessly from pocket to pocket, drawer to drawer, counter to counter. It bought bread, stamps, and hope in small quantities. That constant movement is exactly why surviving examples today feel almost miraculous, as if they escaped a destiny of being worn into nothing. The absence of a mint mark gives the coin a strange, almost mysterious identity. It belongs everywhere and nowhere at once, making it harder to trace and easier to overlook. That anonymity allowed countless pieces to vanish into circulation without being noticed, which is how rarity quietly forms over time. Not through intention but through neglect. The design itself carries a sense of humility that grows stronger with age. The wheat stalks on the reverse speak of growth, endurance, and patience, while the face on the front reflects calm resolve. Together, they tell a story of a nation holding itself together through discipline rather than excess. That symbolism gives the coin emotional weight beyond its size. Time has not been kind to most 1944 wheat pennies. Copper remembers everything. It darkens, scratches, softens, and changes with every touch. Each surviving coin today carries decades of history etched into its surface, making no two exactly alike. That individuality transforms a mass-produced object into something deeply personal. There is a powerful idea among collectors that the most valuable objects are the ones nobody thought to protect. The 1944 wheat penny fits that idea perfectly. It was never meant to be saved, never meant to be admired, and never meant to become legendary. That accidental survival is what fuels fascination today. Stories often circulate about fortunes hiding in plain sight, and while not every penny changes a life, history shows that unexpected value often emerges without warning. The market rewards patience, condition, and timing, and coins like this one sit quietly until all three align. When that happens, the transformation can feel sudden and unreal. What makes this penny so captivating is not just what it is, but what it represents. It represents overlooked potential, quiet strength, and the idea that small things can carry enormous impact. In a world obsessed with size and speed, this coin reminds us that endurance often matters more. Many people still dismiss old pennies as pocket change from another era, barely worth a glance. That moment of dismissal is where history slips through fingers. Every generation has ignored something that later proved priceless, and coins are among the most common victims of that mistake. The 1944 wheat penny survived economic shifts, design changes, and the disappearance of the very system that created it. It outlived the hands that held it and the stores that accepted it. Survival like that creates meaning no amount of polish can replicate. Collectors often describe a strange feeling when holding an old copper cent, a sense that it is warmer, heavier, and more present than modern money. That sensation comes from time itself. The coin has lived, and that life clings to it in ways that are hard to explain but impossible to ignore. The idea that a single coin could change a fortune overnight is powerful because it taps into something deeply human. The belief that destiny sometimes hides in ordinary places. Whether or not that moment arrives, the possibility alone keeps people searching, learning, and paying attention. This penny does not promise wealth. It challenges awareness. It asks whether you recognize value before the world agrees with you. That question has defined fortunes, discoveries, and legends throughout history, far beyond the world of coins. In the end, the 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark is not just a piece of copper. It is a reminder that history rewards those who look closely, that power does not always announce itself, and that sometimes the smallest object in your hand carries the longest story and the potential to change everything. The 2005 Canadian 1-cent coin arrived quietly, without ceremony, at a time when the world believed small money no longer mattered. It was a year defined by speed, technology, and change. Yet this copper coin moved slowly through pockets and purses, unnoticed and underestimated. While people chased paper wealth and digital numbers, this tiny cent continued its silent journey, carrying history forward without asking for attention. Although struck in Canada, the coin story did not remain confined to one nation. Through travel, trade, migration, and chance, many of these cents crossed borders and entered the United States coin market, where foreign coins often live strange second lives. They become curiosities, misfits, and sometimes sleepers. Coins that don't belong, yet refuse to disappear. By 2005, copper itself had become more than just metal. It carried industrial importance, historical symbolism, and emotional weight. This cent held the feel of an older world, one where coins were solid, honest, and tangible. In a time when many currencies were losing physical meaning, this small disc still felt real in the hand. What makes this coin fascinating is not how loudly it announced itself, but how quietly it blended in. No mint mark, no dramatic design change, no warning that it might one day be looked at differently. It was created to be spent, lost, and forgotten. History, however, often chooses its survivors without explanation. The copper surface of the 2005 cent reacts to time like memory reacts to emotion. It darkens, softens, and records every touch. Each coin becomes unique, shaped by years of movement, friction, and human contact. That transformation turns mass-produced currency into something deeply personal, almost alive. Coins like this remind us that value does not always arrive immediately. Sometimes it waits. Sometimes it hides inside objects people ignore for decades. The world has repeatedly shown that yesterday's spare change can become tomorrow's obsession, not because it was rare at birth, but because it endured. In the United States coin market, foreign cents often sit in jars, drawers, and collections without clear purpose. That uncertainty creates mystery. The moment something does not fit neatly into categories, curiosity begins to grow. Curiosity is often the first step toward rediscovery. The 2005 Canadian cent belongs to the final chapter of an era. Soon after, the 1-cent coin would fade from everyday Canadian life, turning objects like this into quiet artifacts of a closed chapter. When something stops being made, it stops being ordinary, even if it once flooded the world. There is power in coins that were never meant to be saved. They survive by accident, not intention. That accidental survival gives them a strange authority, as if they defied a system designed to erase them. Over time, survival itself becomes a form of rarity. Many people dream of sudden fortune, but history teaches a subtler lesson. True transformation often begins with attention. The ability to notice what others overlook has always separated those who discover value from those who chase it too late. Coins like this reward awareness, not impatience. The idea that a single coin could change a life overnight is powerful because it reflects human hope. Whether or not that moment comes, the belief keeps history alive. It encourages people to look closer, ask questions, and respect the past hiding in their hands. This cent carries more than copper. It carries the end of small money, the transition into a faster world, and the quiet resistance of physical currency. It reminds us that once something leaves circulation, it never truly leaves memory. Collectors often say that coins speak, not through sound, but through presence. When held, an old cent feels heavier than its weight. That sensation comes from time, from the countless moments it passed through without being noticed. The 2005 Canadian 1-cent coin does not promise wealth. It promises perspective. It shows how quickly society dismisses what seems small, and how slowly it realizes what was lost. That realization is where stories, and sometimes fortunes, begin. In the end, this coin stands as a reminder that history does not always shine. Sometimes it waits in shadows, disguised as nothing, until the right eyes recognize it. And when that happens, even the smallest cent can suddenly feel powerful enough to change everything. Next up,